6 major investment migration programs have closed across Europe and the Gulf in the past 5 years: Spain, Ireland, Cyprus, Malta, the UK, and most recently the UAE. Each time investors asked the same question: what happens to my permit, my investment, my path to citizenship? The short answer in almost every case is nothing. You get grandfathered in, your permit stays valid, your renewal rights survive the closure. But the longer answer has exceptions that matter, and one country has rewritten the worst-case scenario entirely. IMI tracked every major closure to show you what actually happened, who kept their status, and where the real risk is. When Spain closed its golden visa on April 3, 2025, the government published transitional provisions in the official state gazette that left zero ambiguity. Existing golden visa holders kept their permits for the full issued period. They can renew under the criteria of the original 2013 law. Investors who submitted applications before the deadline received visas under the regulations that were in force when they applied. Article 9.3 of the Spanish Constitution protects against retroactive removal of rights already granted. Spain's approach followed what has become the standard European template. The program closes to new entrants. Everyone already inside keeps what they have. Ireland's Immigrant Investor Programme, or IIP, closed on February 15, 2023. Justice Minister Simon Harris said at the time that the closure would not affect existing projects or applications. That was not a symbolic assurance. Ireland inherited 3,127 pending applications, representing over €2 billion in potential investments. 2 years after the programme closed, Ireland approved a record 538 applications in 2024, more than double the previous year and the highest annual figure in the IIP's 12-year history. The programme no longer exists, but the backlog does. Ireland is still approving investors, still issuing residence permits, and still processing files under the original programme rules. If you filed before February 2023, the closure changed nothing about your case. Malta's case is the most striking closure in recent memory. The European Court of Justice ruled in April 2025 that the Maltese Exceptional Investor Naturalisation Policy, or MEIN, violated EU law by creating a transactional naturalisation procedure in exchange for predetermined payments. Malta was ordered to terminate the programme entirely. Malta complied and scrapped MEIN in July 2025, replacing it with a merit-based citizenship framework. For existing CBI passport holders, the government's response was immediate. In its official statement following the ruling, Malta emphasised that decisions taken under both the current and previous legislative frameworks would be honoured. James Muscat Azzopardi, partner at Credence Corporate and Advisory Services, confirmed the ruling does not affect current passport holders. If you obtained Maltese citizenship through investment before the ECJ ruling, you are still a Maltese citizen today. The programme died, but the citizenship survived. You can find more about Malta's current investor residency options and others across Europe on IMI's Programme Finder, where you can sort, filter, and compare more than 275 residency and citizenship programs in 140 countries. The United Kingdom closed its Tier 1 investor visa on February 17, 2022. The Home Office cited concerns about money laundering and political pressure to cut economic ties to Russia amid the Ukraine build-up. What makes the UK unusual is what happened next. 4 years after the programme closed, it still functions for everyone already in it. The official gov.uk page for the Tier 1 investor visa still exists, still provides instructions, and still tells existing holders how they can apply to extend for 2 more years. Apply for indefinite leave to remain, the UK equivalent of permanent residency, and bring family members to join them. The pathway to settlement is fully intact. The visa category is dead to newcomers and alive for incumbents. Existing Tier 1 holders continue to renew, extend, and settle in the UK as if nothing changed. Cyprus shut down its citizenship by investment programme on November 1, 2020, after an Al Jazeera undercover investigation exposed influence peddling by senior politicians. The closure was immediate. Since then, Cyprus has revoked 360 citizenships, 101 investors, and 259 family members. That sounds alarming until you look at the full picture. The program granted 6,779 citizenships between 2007 and 2020. The revocations represent a small fraction, and they were not triggered by the closure itself. Cyprus revoked passports from individuals who obtained them through fraud, false declarations, concealment of material facts, or subsequent criminal convictions. Cypriot law allows revocation under 3 specific circumstances: fraudulent acquisition, conviction for a serious offence, carrying 10 or more years imprisonment, or conduct seriously prejudicial to public interest, such as terrorism or sanction violations. Investors who obtained citizenship legitimately and maintained clean records kept their Cypriot passports. The program closure did not give the government a blanket right to undo lawfully granted citizenships. There is one caveat. When the program closed, 1,417 applications sat unprocessed. The government rejected roughly 72% of them. A July 2024 court ruling forced the government to allow judicial review of those rejections, opening the door for hundreds of investors to challenge the decisions. The lesson from Cyprus: if you already had citizenship when the program ended, you kept it. If you were stuck in the queue, the outcome was uncertain, and for many, unfavourable. Portugal's golden visa did not close. It is still open and accepting applications through investment fund subscriptions. But Portugal illustrates a different category of risk. The rules can change beneath your feet while the program technically survives. On April 1st, 2026, Parliament approves a revised law extending naturalisation timelines from 5 to 10 years for non-EU, non-CPLP nationals. The Socialist Party's proposal for transitional protections for existing investors was rejected. No grandfathering clause was included. The decree now sits with President Antonio José Seguro, who is affiliated with the Socialist Party that opposed the law. He may promulgate it, veto it, or refer it to the Constitutional Court. If he vetoes, Parliament can override with an absolute majority. The law is not yet in force. Golden visa investors filed a constitutional challenge in December 2025, arguing the government reneged on promises made when it solicited their capital. More than 20,000 investors still await appointments with AIMA, Portugal's migration agency, some since 2021. Permanent residency after 5 years is unaffected. The Golden Visa program itself was not part of the debate, but for investors who entered expecting a 5-year path to Portuguese citizenship, the goalposts have moved. Portugal and Greece also show what happens when a government turns against a specific group of existing investors, not by closing a program, but by freezing them out. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, both countries suspended golden visa processing for Russian nationals. Portugal's Foreign Affairs Minister announced the suspension in a media interview. No legislation was passed. Applications from Russians were simply set aside. Portugal never had a legal basis for the ban. Immigration lawyer Madalena Monteiro of Liberty Legal sued Portuguese immigration authorities on behalf of Russian and Belarusian clients more than 170 times over 2 years. Courts consistently ruled the informal suspension violated constitutional rights, including the right not to be discriminated against on the basis of nationality. AIMA began processing Russian applications again in August 2024 without any public announcement. Greece went further. The Ministry of Migration issued a ministerial order in February 2022 suspending golden visas for Russian nationals until further notice, covering not just new applications but renewals of existing permits. In practice, however, IMI's data from mid-2023 showed Russian golden visa renewals actually rose from 326 to 391 even as new permits declined. Enforcement was inconsistent. These cases sit between orderly grandfathering and outright revocation. Governments left programs open, but blocked a specific nationality from using them. In Portugal, the judiciary corrected the overreach. In Greece, the formal suspension is still in place, though enforcement has been uneven. If you're tracking program changes like these in real time, IMI Daily's newsletter covers every development as it hits the government gazettes. Links in the description. Every case involves democracies with constitutional protections. independent courts, and codified legal frameworks. The UAE operates differently. In late March 2026, multiple sources reported that the UAE had begun revoking residence permits held by Iranian nationals who were outside the country. The cancellations reportedly extended to 10-year golden visas obtained through property investment. Iranian residents who left the UAE after tensions escalated on February 28th reportedly discovered their residency voided when they attempted to return. One individual described losing a 10-year golden visa while abroad. Another was barred from re-entry while non-Iranian family members could still enter. The UAE government has not confirmed or denied the reports. Iranian expatriate outlet IranianUAE.ae reported that cancellations expanded over several days, starting with employment visa holders and widening to include all Iranian nationals abroad, including property-based golden visa holders. Iranians physically inside the UAE appeared unaffected. If accurate, the Iranian revocations will be the first reported mass cancellation of investment-linked golden visas in the UAE's history. And they expose a structural vulnerability in the UAE system that does not exist in European programs. The UAE's golden visa offers no path to permanent residence or citizenship. It is a renewable 10-year permit that exists entirely at the discretion of the government. Felipe May, CEO of EC Holdings, characterized it in an earlier analysis as cheap, easy and attractive for residents, while noting that it is not a plan B and does not lead to permanent residency or citizenship. Loss of a UAE residence visa does not merely restrict entry, it can trigger frozen bank payments, housing contract breaches and loss of children's school placements. Could a country close a program and refuse to renew? This is the hypothetical that worries investors most. A government deciding the program is closed, your permit cannot be renewed, and you are out. In a democratic country with rule of law protections, that scenario is extraordinarily unlikely. Constitutional principles against retroactive deprivation of rights, legitimate expectations doctrines, and administrative law protections all work against it. Every European closure examined above preserved renewal rights for existing holders. Even when Portugal and Greece tried to freeze Russian investors out of active programs, courts intervened or enforcement proved inconsistent. But unlikely is not impossible. The UAE has shown that a government with sufficient discretion and limited judicial oversight can revoke investment-linked permits for specific nationality groups during a geopolitical crisis. The mechanism already exists. The gap between a European golden visa and a UAE golden visa is a gap in legal standing. European permits exist within frameworks that include courts, appeals, constitutional protections, and precedent. The UAE permit exists within a framework where discretion is the operating principle. If you're evaluating where to invest, that legal architecture matters as much as the price tag or the lifestyle. You can find and compare programs side by side on IMI's Program Finder. And if you need professional guidance tailored to your situation, IMIdaily.com connects you with vetted specialists in any jurisdiction. If you're weighing up the UAE as part of your Plan B, check out the video on your screen now for a closer look at what Dubai's golden visa actually gets you and what it doesn't. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet.